Okay, we're going to build an interface, a GUI interface to this accounts thing. I think one of the good ways to kind of learn how a system works is to actually build an interface, or not, I shouldn't say an interface, build a graphical interaction with it. So that's what we're going to do is do a GUI into this using this domain and these account services here. And again, you have the option to Windows Forms or web. This is going to walk you through the web stuff. So again, right now this doesn't run. I get the exception that there's no executable. And if I look at these, I have these different projects, and domain is bolded as being the one to run, but it doesn't have a main in it there. So we're going to create a new project here. Not just new folder. So I'm going to click up on solutions. I'm going to right click and choose add and then new project. So again, I want to be adding a new project, not just a new folder. And I've got this limited to C#. I have this limited to Mac OS because I want something that can run on multiple platforms. But the one thing I want to quickly go to found is this Blazor WebAssembly. So this is a Blazor app that runs WebAssembly and hosted on ASP.NET. Template can use to make dynamic web pages. So again, this is just the interface or the web interface we'll be using here. We're going to give it some project name. So this is my web account system. So I'm just going to call this web accounts and hit next. I'm going to leave this as 3.1 by default, and I'm going to no authentication and uncheck HTTPS. I don't need that here. And then I'm going to create this project. So once the project's created, it'll put it down here. So now I have one more project for this. Now if I run this, it still won't work because it's going to try to run the main. So I want to reset this so it runs this web account. So right click on the web account and find the set as startup project. Now this will be bold and be marked as the startup project. Now if we run this, it'll open up a web page and we'll run this stuff. And then we're going to do a little clean out. We start with the kind of default website here, and we're going to try to clean that up a little bit. So let me get this website over here. So it loads a local web server, so it has a home page, a counter page, and a fetch data page with some sample data in here. So we're just going to leave the home page, which is the index page, and we're going to overwrite that and put all of our stuff code in there. So let's just go in here. I think the easiest way is so again, I'm not going to walk you through this whole thing. It just gives you a quick overview. And one of the reasons for doing this, well, two reasons. One is to get you kind of used to this domain and services and the code in there and how we interact with that. And the other way is just do a quick introduction so you can see how like a web interface might work with this code here. So, but again, we're not going to teach you ASP design. We don't have, unfortunately, time for that. So I'm going to go into pages here. There's a counter page. I'm going to delete that. Just hit delete key. There's a fetch data page. I'm going to delete that. I'm just going to leave the index page here. There's also some menus. So under shared, there's a menu layout, and these are these list items here, and this is the default one. I'm going to leave that, but this list item is for the counter page. I'm going to delete from this all the way down to the end list tag. And this one is for the fetch data page. So again, from this li tag list item to the end li tag here. So then I just have this list, a bullet list with one list item in it in the menu. So save that. Again, you don't have to do that, but I just think to clean it up. Now, you can also, if you want, there's some sample data in here, so you can actually go in here and delete the sample data folder just to clean things up, because we don't need that anymore. Okay, now we should be able to run this again. Oops, I'm gonna keep my pages open, and it should just open index and have that as our only choice in the menu system. So open this up, runs the web server. Again, it takes a little while because again, it starts up a whole web server and that sort of stuff. But again, just one menu over here and just hello world here. So we're gonna put our code here. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna kind of duplicate this sort of layout here. Again, we want to be able to have a heading at the top, be able to type in account name into a field with a prompt and add the account and have a list of accounts here. So let's look at how we might do that here. So again, I'm going to open up under Pages, Index. Here, I'm going to close my overview here. Okay, so in Web Pages here, this is our just kind of the page name. I'll leave that alone. And this is the heading. So I'm just going to say accounts. Processing maybe for that. So some sort of heading for that. Now I'm going to want to delete everything else is in here and just start with some stuff. So I can add some a label and then add just a text box. So let's look at how we do that. So to add a label, I type in bracket label, and then I'm going to here say what it's for in just a sec, but I'm going to say for something. And then this is the what's displayed in the label for that. Okay, and then I'm going to actually add the input. This is the text box. So a text box is actually called an input field here. Let's see if I can move this over a little bit. And so it's input and default is text. So I'm actually, initially it would just be like this. Oops, not like that. Input type text here. But we're gonna add some an ID field here and then a name field. Sometimes when we're working with JavaScript and other stuff like that, it's nice to have the ID and a name here. And then this label for has that same stuff. So this is kind of the name of the field, and we're just going to have it in these spots. Now we're going to bind this to some new code here. And so we're going to define some code. So that's down below, we're going to put our code. So we're going to say @code, and we can have this whole section of code, and everything we put within the @code symbol will be C#. So we're going to create a string called new account name. So we're just going to say string new account name. And that will then whatever we enter into this text field will show up as the new account name here. And again, we'll put most of our code. This is for processing this interface in here. Okay, so now if we run this again, it should be able to pop up a label with the new account. So. Okay, so our heading's a top account process. The new account name is our label here, and then this is our field, and we can type in, checking or something like that as an account. Now we're going to want a button here, and then we're going to want to add this account to a list of accounts for this. So let's do a button next for this. So for a button, there's a button class. That we can put in place, and then we put the name in that class. So we say add account, and that'll put the add account button here. We're going to specify a name kind of for this, or an action we're going to do for this account. So we're going to say @onClick equals, and then we're going to need a method. So down here we're going to declare a method for this. So this can be a private method for just this class. It's going to be a void method. And so let's call it button add account. I'm going to do add account click, because that's what I did when I was doing the add account click. So when you click on that button, so kind of follows what the naming convention in the other Windows version, although we don't necessarily have to follow that, but I just want to keep it similar. So again, I'm going to take that name here, and up here in the on click say run this event. So this code will be run whenever this button is going to be clicked here. So that's our general layout here. Now we can do something. What do we want to do? We want to add this account to the database. So now we have to interact with our like iAccount services. So we need to create an iAccount services here. So if you remember, domain is all of our account classes, and then services is how we interface, and we interface with this iAccount services class. So we're going to declare something of that type. So we're going to, in our list of variables here, we're going to want one of these. So we're going to want an iAccount services, and we're going to just give it some name here. So I'm just going to call this our account services, and we're just going to do new, and then we're going to create in the constructor, we're going to create a account services object for this. Now it's not going to find these here, and there's two reasons. We have to put in a using up above, and we also have to add the reference here. These are in different projects, so we have to add our references here. So let's add our reference here. So again, inside web accounts, there's dependencies. I'm going to right click on that and say add project reference. And here's our services. I'm going to add those. Now, we also will later need some things in domain, the account stuff. So I'm just going to add that in here also. So that's what we're going to need. So now I can access this, but again, these still are not showing up, and so I need to add a using. So usually I would just say using services up here. Here I can spell services right. But because I'm in a website, a web page, I have to put the at in front of it. So I say at using services, and then that should create this. Oh, and I did. Again, I should not be you should never instantiate an interface, always instantiate an object here. So I should be instantiating account services for this. I wasn't finding it. I'm guessing I must have mistyped it. I often find when I get an error, I just go out to the class and copy and paste it in here because I mistype so many things. So I think I have it spelled correctly now. Okay, so now we have our account services. Now we can use this account services when we click our button here. So click our button, we're going to create an account there, and it just needs the name of account, a string, a name of account, and then also the type of account. Here. So the name of the account is in this new account name variable here. So I can just give that, and then the account type. Now the account type is in this enum under domain, and that's why we added that. So there's this enum called account type. So I can just say account type dot. Oops, I want an actual class directly. Account type dot. I just cannot spell today. And usually it would fill in. One of the problems with coding inside these web pages is that you don't get as good of IntelliSense. So if I look in an account type, I can look at like silver, gold, and platinum, and we're going to by default create these as silver account. So I should just say account type dot silver and hit that. Now again, it's not finding account type. I can check in my dependencies, and I've added that dependency up here, domain. It's inside domain, but I haven't done the using. So up here I say at using domain also. So now I can use that. Okay, so now I have my account type. So I've added that account. So this button clicks just adds that account to the list here. Now let's see if this is going to work. I'm going to run this. I can then type in account name here. Let's wait for it. checking and hit add account. Now I want it to display here also, and it's not, so I can add a display. I also might want this to be on the same line, and so line breaks are kind of weird with web pages, so I'm going to probably add a break to bring this to its own new line also. So let's close that off and go back here. Okay, so back, I'm going to close up some of these things. Okay, back in here in my web page, I've got my input and my button, but again, it's putting them all on the same line, and I can just put in a break to put these on separate lines for this. Now I want to make a list of items here, and so I'm going to set that up. And then have the user select those. So after my button here, I'm going to add that. So I'm going to have a label first. So remember how we do labels. And what should it say? And then it's just going to say current account here for this label. And then under that, I'm going to have a list, and this is called a select list, so where they can select. It's basically what I would call a drop-down box. So I'm going to say select here, and then inside that, there'll be a number of options I can select from here. So I'll have options, and each option is going to have value, and then what's displayed in the list is going to be between the option tag and end option tag. So initially I'm just going to have the word select. Well, here let's say we have the word checking here, and its value would be, I'm going to store the name of it also in checking here as an example of this, just to see if we can get this to work here. So now I'm going to run this just to show you what it should look like. So again, I have my add account on a new line. I want actually this on a new line, so I want to put another break here, but in current account, and I can select, and there's just checking. And as you have more items, there'll be more displayed here. So actually the first item I want is displayed by default, and so I want to say select an account for that, and I want to list the accounts after that for this. So let's try to do that. So I'm going to add another break in here. Okay, current account. Okay, so I'm going to hard code in this account, this first account, and it's going to say select an account. And for the value, I'm going to say no account selected for this. Now, the rest of these, I'm going to want to store the accounts here. So I'm going to keep track of these accounts in just a simple list of values here. So I'm going to need a list of accounts here. Now normally I would store this in a database or something like that, but we're going to just do this relatively simple here. So I'm going to create inside my code block a list, private list of strings of the account name. So each account is just going to be a name. So I'm just going to call this my account list and do a new list of strings. Close that off. Okay. So now I have this account list. After I create an account, I'm just going to add it to my list. So I'm going to say account list dot add, and I'm going to add this account. And again, my account is stored in this account name variable here. That's tied here. So that'll add items to my list. Now, so as I click items on the list, I'll have this list of string values. Now up here, I'm going to want to add an option item for each account. So how do I do that in this code? So we can actually put code inside. This is HTML here. We can add code inside this HTML here. So after this original option one, we want to create a bunch of other option ones for each item in the account. So I can just say for each, but again, since this is in HTML, I have to start with an at for each string account name in my account list. Here, so that's my line, and then I'm going to do one of these option values. So I'm just going to duplicate this and put it in here. So I'm going to do an option value, and I'm going to use the for the string here, I'm going to use the this account name, and I'm going to put at there so it actually puts that. And then here I'm also going to use that account name, and I need the at also there. So it'll put in this HTML command option value, and then it'll use this account name for this. Oops, I've got for each twice here, don't I? There, okay. This account name that's grabbing from the account list. I must have spelled something with account list with a T. Okay. So it'll generate my list of accounts here for this. Now I'm going to want to also do some tracking with this. So I'm going to put in, like we did before, we're going to put in an ID and a name for these things, just so we actually don't need it that much, but I'm just used to doing that. So I'm going to type in my label, I'm going to say for, and this is going to be my account list. And under my select, I'm going to say the ID equals account list, and the name equals account list. Here. I'm also going to want to bind this. So I want to keep track of what is my selected account name. So I'm going to say do this bind command in this list, in this select command. So I'm going to also do a at bind and then specify a variable down below. So I'm going to need to create another string variable. I'm going to need a string, and this will be my selected account name. And I'm going to put that up here, my bind. So that it'll, whatever account I select will be stored into this selected account name here. So when I run this, initially there are no accounts. I can type in account, Tom checking, add that account to the list, and it should show up here. Tom savings. I should maybe spell these a little better, but I'm trying to go fast. So then I can select one account or the other. And then whatever account I have selected will be stored in that one variable for this. Okay, so we've got that working. So if I look back at the assignment, that's this new account, this account button, and then this list of accounts. We actually have a drop down for that here. So we're going to add a couple more items. We're going to display the account balance and have a deposit amount that'll also update that for this. So let's go back here. So I've got this account name and stuff. Now I'm going to add, let's add this account balance with a label here. So I have a label up here with a text box after it. Now here they showed it as a text box. I'm actually going to not put it as a text box, but just one long text string. So let's just do it that way, because we don't need to actually enter. You're not going to be able to change the account balance here. So I'm just going to use a paragraph tag here, which is some text. and I'm going to say account balance, and then I'm going to specify the account balance. So I want to have a variable here for the account balance for this. Now, when doing this work, I find it useful to keep two variables. One is a decimal for the account balance, and the other one is to have a string variable that will display that, and I like to call that string account balance here. I'm going to initialize this to 0 to start with for this. So this will be the account balance, and this is this. Now I'm actually going to make these all private because they're just internal to this. So I'm going to reset these all to private. Okay, so this is my string account balance, and this is what I want to display on the form up above here, is the string account balance. So I'm going to say, do that. Now if I want, if I have it this way, I'll just say the words account balance. If I wanted to have the variable, I want to just have to add the @ in there to access it as a variable name for that stuff. So this will let me set up the account balances here. Okay, now I'm getting a number of variables here. I'm going to start adding comments here so I can keep track of what is being used for what here. So what we want to then be able to do is also display or add information to the account balance and have that updated as we go. So let's look at that. So again, we want to do something where we have like a button, the word, the amount of the deposit, and the value. So it's again, it's kind of a similar structure to what we had before, where we have this button, we have a label, an input field, and a button here. So I'm actually going to copy this whole section here, bring it down here, and after my account balances, I'm going to do that. Now these breaks help separate these on separate lines, so you might want to put in some breaks in here at various points. Okay, so now I'm going to have a deposit here. So the label is going to be called a deposit amount for this. And the name is just going to be called, I'm just going to call it deposit. And again, this name we're actually not using anywhere in IDs, but if you're doing JavaScript formatting and stuff like, or cascading style sheets and stuff, having some of this stuff in here is useful. I should actually just maybe eliminate it for this class because we're not doing any of that stuff, but I'm not, I guess. Okay, so then, and then we're going to bind this to a variable. So we need a deposit amount variable here. So I'm going to declare another string. So again, to differentiate this from this will be a string value that I'll convert to an integer or a decimal later on. I just want to say string deposit amount here, because we'll read that in as a string. Okay, so I have an input type text deposit amount, and then I'll have that value is a deposit amount here. I'll have a little break, and I'll have a button, and that'll say deposit into account or something like that. And I'll need a method down here for that. So again, I'll need another private void event. I'm going to do the button deposit. Click. And do that. So now when I click the deposit click button, it'll run this account down here for us. Okay, so what's this going to do then? So we want to add money into our account here. So first we've got to figure out how much we want to add. So we've got this deposit amount as a string. I'm going to want to convert that to a decimal. So I'm going to declare a decimal value here. I don't know why this is indented like this. Okay. So I'm going to declare a decimal deposit amount. And I'm going to then get the decimal value from this string. So I'm going to say decimal dot parse, and then I'm going to get the string. So what string were we storing it in? The string deposit amount here. And again, I should be doing some error checking in here probably, but I'm not going to do that right now to kind of keep this simple. Now I've got that deposit amount. Now I'm going to add that to this account. So I can use my account services class again to do that. That's what everything should go through account services to account. So I'm going to do account services, and then I can say deposit, and I'm going to do a deposit. And what do I need? Oops, not create account. Deposit. I need the account name and the amount. So the account name is the selected account name. That's what they've selected in the drop-down box. And then the amount is this amount, which I've just figured out here for this. So that'll deposit into that account using account services that amount for that. Now, when you do that, it'll update the balance. So, and I'm displaying the balance here as a string balance. So I'm going to update this string balance here. Remember, I have an account balance decimal here. So I'm actually going to go use account services to get the new balance. Account balance equals, go to account services and get account balance. And again, I need the account name, and I'm going to use the selected account name for this. And that'll get the thing. But what I'm actually displaying on the screen is the string account balance here, this one. So I'm going to update that. Also, string account balance equals, and I'm just going to do a parse. Oh no, I can just do account balance dot toString. That didn't work. To get that. And then so now hopefully when you do a deposit, that'll be updated for us. So let's see how that's going to work here. So one of the problems here is that, again, we're not using a database, so every time I have to do this, I have to create some new accounts. So I'm going to create a checking account and add that account, maybe a savings account, add that to the account. So now I can go to my checking account, and it's not showing my account balance here. If I deposit, let's deposit $100 in the checking account. Now it is showing there. Let's say I deposit another $200. It'll show now I have $300. Now if I switch this to savings, it's not updating this. So it updates this account every time I do this, but not when I update, when I select the different accounts here. So I'm going to change that around a little bit. So the last thing we're going to work is to try to get our update working when we select a different account. Right now, when we select a different account, we're binding it, but we don't do any update. So there's no code is generally values are updated here. So we're going to add something to this select statement. So besides binding it, we're also going to do an on-click event. So we're going to add an on-click event, and we're going to specify a method to run down here. So we're going to add, again, down in our code section here, add another method to update the balance amount. So I'm just going to call this update account here, and then we're going to run this update account. Oops. When we click on the account list above here. So and that'll just form this account. So down here, we'll just do our account balance update. So similar to what we could do, and eventually we should probably pull this into its own little method so we can call it repeatedly. But we're just going to get the account balance from the account balance and convert this to string here. Okay, and I'm going to put in some formatting in these two strings so we get a couple decimal places here. So now when we select an account, it should update this stuff. So let's run this and see how that works. Okay, so I've added a checking account and a savings account here. And again, I can do a deposit. My current account is savings. I can deposit $100 into savings here. And then if I switch to checking, it'll show the account balance in checking is 0. And if I go to check savings, it'll also show that. And again, I can deposit more money into savings and checking back and forth. So the only issue right now is if I go back here to select account, it still says 0 here. So I could put in some language to support that for this. Okay, but that's the general process. So hopefully you can kind of see how our account services work and how we add and how these accounts work. Right now we're only doing silver accounts, and we're not doing any withdrawals here. So you'll have to address some of those things in the assignment.